Are you asking yourself, should I go enlisted or officer? You're thinking about joining the military? Are you not sure? Honestly, these are two paths to very different experiences, responsibilities, opportunities. In this video, we're going to break it down. Rank, pay, quality of life, and everything in between. So you can decide what's best for you. Now, this video does dive into the question of enlisted versus officer. I will share my personal experiences, some advice for those considering joining, and I hope to provide some mentorship to help you with that path. Background: I've been in the Air Force for 15 years. I did 6 years enlisted, and I had a great time enlisted. I really enjoyed my time. I've deployed multiple times to multiple hostile zones. I love being an officer. I also give you my comparison of both at the end of really what I see as the big difference. So first, what is the big difference? Now, you have this military being made up of two main groups: enlisted personnel and officers. Enlisted are about 78% or something like that. Officers looking at about 20 to 30-ish%, depending on the branch. Enlisted members, the background of the force, they do hands-on work, lead small teams, and operate equipment. Officers typically are your leaders, planners. They manage missions, make strategic decisions, and then they lead those larger units. Let's get into money. The question people have: yeah, money matters. Enlisted obviously start below officers. Officers have that higher pay grade. Brand new second lieutenant making significantly more than a brand new private. But here you can see it's about double, starting right off the top, off the bat right there. By year 4, an officer is earning that double that enlisted in the service. Getting into housing, so you've got BAS, BAH, the basic housing allowance, full medical dental. It's going to be the same for both, but BAH and BAS will be higher for officers. Keep in mind, rank education plays influence on those officers climbing faster in those areas. Typically, if you live on base, the rank and number of dependents is based on your housing size. However, typically higher rank has a higher home, but it's not always the case. There are single majors that live in smaller homes versus married staff sergeants with, say, like 5 kids. I know because I was a staff sergeant with multiple dependents living in a base housing that was larger than my director of operations major, who was single. But there are newer homes that only 04 through 06 and higher are eligible for. And I did also see some enlisted members who got a reduced BAH charge, and then they lived in very older housing, like 50, 60-year-old housing. Responsibilities. Now, responsibilities matter a lot. Enlisted members, like I said, typically are the doers. They're executing the mission, becoming subject matter experts, leading through their peers with a direct action, hands-on tasks. Many cases, the enlisted, maintaining equipment, operating those weapons, following those orders. Subject matter experts such as a explosive ordnance troop or an aircraft maintainer typically have to plan, coordinate with those things, get them done. However, your officers, they have to oversee the actions of the unit. They need to make the decisions, implement strategy. Resource manager. Officers are constantly being available for long-term planning. They have to make sure that they get things done and also that the mission gets done. And they are responsible if it doesn't. In that regard, sometimes they're never really off. Officers are planning and making sure the bigger picture decisions are happening. Responsibility always starts immediately, even as a brand new second lieutenant, and the pressure really never goes away. Education requirements. Now, of course, to be an officer, you have to have a bachelor's degree, either before joining or through programs such as OTS, ROTC, service academies. I have other videos on that will be linked below. I must say, not all degrees are equal. My officer training video, of course, which is linked, I go into more depth, but to sum it up, aerospace engineering degree is going to hold more weight as like a STEM degree will, versus a liberal arts degree like English or psychology. Enlisted, you can join with a high school diploma or GED and even pursue college later on while you're serving through tuition assistance. I've personally helped 3 people commission, and if you're interested in that journey, reach out to me. Quality of life, officer housing. Officers can enjoy better housing. We mentioned that. Autonomy, greater respect out of the uniform or in. They tend to work longer hours and carry more liability, so they're responsible if something messes up. Listed members will have that stricter supervision. Typically, you'll go and you'll show up and you'll live in barracks or on base housing where you could get inspected. on where you live. Officers are going to typically live off base, but they, brand new. But they also build those tight-knit bonds. I'll talk about more of that later on. That hands-on lifestyle where it grows that leadership over time. And yes, leadership can be built. Promotion. Officers promote on more of a structured schedule, typically every few years. If they meet performance standards, officer promotions depend more on job performance, testing, availability of positions. I tested for staff and was promoted by my 3.5-year mark when I was enlisted, so E5. And then I was selected to commission by the time I was eligible to test for tech sergeant 2 years later. Enlisted can still rise to powerful leadership roles. For example, Sergeant Major of the Army, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, but officers will always outrank enlisted members, regardless of the time of service. That said, I always recommend officers, especially new lieutenants, find a good senior NCO, mentor them when they get to a unit. They can always help in many ways and are usually the pulse of the unit. They know what things are going on there, and if they're a great NCO, they're going to help you out a lot. There are only a few bad ones that I've met. All right, which one is right for you? Ultimately, you want to lead right away, have a degree, you're ready for a high level of responsibility, go the officer route. It might be for you. But if you'd rather learn the ropes, grow from the ground up, and become a technical expert, start enlisted. It can be just as rewarding. And many times enlisted members later become amazing officers. As said in the beginning, I've seen the difference, worked both enlisted and officer. As an enlisted member, you will have a big circle of peers and friends you could call up and ask how to do something. If you need a 500-pound aquarium moved at 7 a.m. on a Saturday, which I have, you can get 10 friends to show up and help you, and they'll be there because they're your peers. As an officer, your circle of peers shrinks and gets smaller the higher rank you go. But I will say, my first week as a new lieutenant in one office, I had to deal with an emergency situation. Deployed where I had 3 countries' militaries counting on me for the right decision, and I had to report to a general in 24 hours for the correct course of action. My decision could have affected people's lives and engagement in a hostile environment, and had I been wrong, I would have been held accountable, and rightly so, as I should have. As an officer, you will have higher level of influence, or your sphere, as I call it, of influence grows. Almost like a Super Saiyan type thing like that once you become officer in how many things you can influence. But as I mentioned, that peer network is so much smaller. You're expected to make the larger decisions and usually fast. So a bigger circle of friends, smaller influence. Larger sphere of influence, smaller circle of friends, officers. I will also add, as a note, there are some former enlisted members that are now officers that never really understood the transition and just didn't get it. I had one former NCO who is now an officer in a previous job, and they always wanted everything double-checked. They were constantly coming to me for me to look over her work, and when I did that, she immediately ran to our commander to show what she had done, like brown-nosing. Just weird, just a terrible officer. You have to be able to make decisions for yourself as a good officer. Ultimately, both paths offer honor, growth, and a chance to serve something bigger than yourself. It's not about which one's better. It's about which one's better for you. If you have any questions about ROTC, OTS, going from enlisted to officer, drop them in the comments. And don't forget, like and subscribe for more military content. Thanks again.